You're watching CW Montana. This is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Friday evening. I'm Andrea Lutz. Ahead tonight, the weather is just too doggone cold. Look at the concerns for this year's Race to the Sky dog sled competition. And of course, if you are planning to travel the Going to the Sun Road this summer, well, you're going to have to wait a little bit later than usual. We're going to explain. But first, a new development in a case that is impacting many in our state. This man that you see right here, accused of sexually assaulting high school boys for decades in Miles City, is back in court. Sex abuse victims of the former Miles City athletic trainer have come forward from all corners of our state. And tonight, a shift in the case for 78-year-old James Jensen, who is facing federal charges, among other things. Jensen is set to change his plea to guilty. That hearing is set for next week in Billings Federal Court. Jensen was charged back in December, accused of using the internet to entice and coerce minors to engage in sexual activity. Meanwhile, there are still other charges for child pornography, as well as a massive civil case from victims who say Jensen abused them during high school athletic exams. The guilty plea does bring some relief to victims, though, as their attorneys said today, Jensen is now being held accountable and taking responsibility for what he has done. Jensen is facing 15 years in prison plus restitution for his federal crimes. Well, tonight there are concerns in Missoula after cars were tagged with anti-Semitic flyers in the area of university housing. Now the university and Missoula police plan to investigate.
UMPD is going to look into the matter. I mean, we do have some cameras in that area, and we're looking at some footage just to see what might have happened. But yeah, I mean, at this point, we're looking to get any information. So if anyone knows anything about this effort, they could let us know. That would be very helpful.
The flyers appeared sometimes Thursday night or Friday morning, and no single group was identified. But the focus of the flyer seems to be centered around First Amendment rights, something anti-Semitic organizations have rallied behind in the past. Now, the Montana Human Rights Network is sharing some ways to support groups targeted by attacks.
What we then encourage people to do is, lift up and recognize those people being targeted. In this case, our Jewish community, lift those folks up, support those friends and family members, part of the targeted group.
The flyers were removed from vehicles as University of Montana policy prevents flyers from being posted in restricted areas. Oh, there is going to be a delay in your summer trip through Glacier National Park. The iconic Going to the Sun Road will not open to Logan Pass until June 22nd. That's because park maintenance, I should say, is prolonging that opening. With 2.9 million visitors last year, the road needs some pavement preservation work to be done to extend the life of the road. And all you spring bicyclists, there is some good news. That's because a Glacier Park spokesperson said the Federal Highway Administration selected a specific preservation material that won't be hard on your bikes. In addition to the road work, there'll be repairs on masonry features, log railings, and signs. In the Montana legislature, a new bill is proposed to hold meat retailers accountable when it comes to labeling. The law would require where beef and pork actually come from. The labels will list where the meat is born, where it's raised, and where it was processed. Also, the label would tell consumers if the meat was processed outside of the United States. Well, the sponsor of this bill says currently federal regulations allow imported meat to be labeled a product of the United States, even if it's only packaged here.
With the advances of 21st century technology, people can take fat cells from beef or pork or turkey, and they can grow it in a cellular culture, and they can create a meat-like substance. And we want to make sure that it is known and is labeled and is defined as something other than traditional meat.
If passed, the Montana Department of Labor and Industry would implement that law. Also, a bill that is heard to stop Montana judges from suspending driver's licenses, not only for those that are not paying those court fines. The judges, though, we're hearing are pretty strongly against it. Republican Casey Knutson says there is support from those who say people shouldn't be prevented from driving to work just because they're having trouble paying a fine. About 14,000 drivers have had their licenses suspended in Montana just last year. Judges against the bill say this may be a way to enforce payment of fines. Knutson says most people are really trying to pay.
I'm not trying to take away the ability of the court to collect these fees from people who are able to pay. I'm simply trying to ensure that people who cannot pay don't have their driver's licenses suspended and therefore lose their ability to get to work, earn a living, and provide for their families because they missed a payment or are having trouble making ends meet.
A committee will vote later on the bill. We'll let you know what happens. And also in the legislature today, a bill allowing Montana breweries to extend their hours to 10 p.m. It has died a quick death. Montana craft brewers supported it, saying it would help craft brewery industries grow, but tavern and restaurant owners in Montana opposed it, saying it would place unfair competition in the sale of alcohol. Now, the sponsor of the bill, Dave Fern of Whitefish, says he's open to taking another look at liquor licensing in the state.
It needs to be a license specially tailored to essentially what we've defined as somewhat of a manufacturing industry and hospitality combined. I think we would have to work out the language, whether it involves a quota or not. But moving forward, I think that's something interested parties can look at.
Montana does have one of the highest per capita numbers of microbreweries in the nation. Well, Montanans in the northeast corner of our state experiencing some of the coldest temperatures in the nation. We're talking about Antelope, Montana, which is about 8 miles south of Plentywood. Guess what? Today it was 50 below zero, and that's even without the wind chill. But considering the cold, the Sheraton County Sheriff's Office hasn't reported too many issues except for maybe some vehicles not wanting to start. Those with the National Weather Service out of Glasgow say it's the coldest temperature of the year, but surprisingly, it is not a record. And we also spoke to the owners of the Antelope Bar, and we told them that the cold made history. The bar owner said, quote, feels like it. But why so cold? We did want to know. Well, we're told that clear skies, fresh snow, and an Arctic blast of cold air from Canada make up that perfect recipe for a chilly temperature. Oh my, so cold. And this cold snap is going to prolong into the weekend. So skiers in the Helena area, there's some unfortunate news to tell you about tonight. Great Divide Ski Area took to Facebook today to tell its visitors that it's going to be closed on Saturday. But no worries, because the lifts are going to open back up again on Sunday. Well, get ready, because this year's Race to the Sky dog sled race will kick off tomorrow in Lincoln as planned. Organizers say they're prepared for the sub-zero temperatures and hope people will still come out and attend. The event is a really big deal every single year. 20 teams competing this year, and each musher is required to carry Arctic grade gear for safety. Organizers say everyone competing is a veteran who's raced in equally cold or colder temperatures throughout their careers. Race officials say that they take the health of their mushers and the dogs seriously, and they're going to closely monitor teams to make sure everyone is safe.
We also have a nurse practitioner that will be in the checkpoints and will be watching for things like hypothermia, getting frostbite, any of that stuff. We'll be checking mushers as they come in and when they head out again.
This year's race is dedicated to Jack Bankstrom, who died last year. Jack was an original organizer and has taken part every single year in that race. Montana State University has set another enrollment record. That's right, the school announces 15,694 students enrolled for this spring semester. And as it turns out, Montana kids are staying in state with 60% of Montana residents enrolled. The director of MSU Enrollment says, well, the numbers are promising. The success of their students is their top priority.
They're aiming to keep students on track to graduate in 4 years, such as our Freshman 15 program, which encourages students to take higher credit loads per semester so that they can get to that graduation in 4 years. We love seeing them come to MSU, we love seeing them choose our school, but we also would love to see them out the door in 4 years.
Those with MSU also say the success of the university is, of course, because of their outstanding faculty and staff. That university is growing so fast. A Kalispell painter is taking his artistic talents to another level by helping the Seeley Lake Ranger District remove some recent vandalism, and he's doing it for free. During the government shutdown, rangers noticed foul language spray painted at the district building and even on a stop sign. Thomas Sorkness of Kalispell saw the destruction on Facebook, and he knew he had to help. He took 5 hours of his time to remove and repaint the graffiti, and he says the burden of criminals should not fall on the Ranger District.
I just didn't think that the ranger station should have to pay for something that wasn't their fault to begin with. So I just wanted to donate my time to correct the wrong, I should say.
Sorkness already promised to add a fresh coat of stain on the building in the spring to keep that Ranger district looking pretty sharp. Just ahead on the MTN 9 o'clock news, if you're a parent of a high school wrestler, you know this is happening in Billings this weekend. We're going to take you to the all-class state wrestling tournament. Plus, fire meets ice in Missoula this weekend. We're going to show you how the fire department is bringing the heat this time. Very, very funny. But first, after the break, Bob is, of course, back with us. He has your full weekend forecast for the entire state of Montana. We'll be right back.